Hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. This is Omar Kanda with Community Income Tax, and I'm joined with Joy Jordan, and we are going to go over the setup and using TaxWise 2017 online. Um, so hopefully we can all learn some new features here. We're excited about the software. They've done a lot of improvements over the years for TaxWise Online, and it's slowly going to become, I believe, the standard out there. So the few things I want to mention here, if you have questions, please type in into the question dialog box in your GoToWebinar control panel. And then we will take pauses and answer them. I find that the more, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask it. That really because we record all these webinars, but I want to give everyone a chance to participate in this and make sure that everyone is comfortable with the software, because we know tax season is right around the corner. So first of all, starting with TaxWise Online, is if you can see right now, I have my login screen. So those of you, who are used to desktop software, you can add the shortcut to your desktops. And if you have questions on how to do that, we can help you out. It's very easy. But usually all you would have to do, whatever computer that's connected to the network, or as long as you have internet access, it doesn't matter if it's a Mac PC, Google, or whatever operating system you use, TaxWise Online will work with it. I recommend Google Chrome just because I use it a lot and I'm pretty comfortable with it. And so far I've had zero issues with TaxWise Online. So if you have it, try to go ahead and use it. It just makes it a lot easier. But it should work with everything else out there, even Safari. So don't feel free to use what you want, but I just recommend TaxWise Online. I recommend Google Chrome. So the login screen is always twonline.taxwise.com. If you look at my screen at the very top, that is always going to take you to the current year software. So if I hit enter right now, it's going to take me to 2017 login screen. Now, if I type in the same URL, twonline.taxwise.com, and put a / and let's say 16, this will take me to the 16 login for TaxWise Online. It works the same way all the way back to 14. If you need prior years before that, you will have to use a desktop, unfortunately. Now, the logins are going to always be the same. You're going to have your own client ID, username, and password, and that stays the same for every year. So let's hop back to the current year TaxWise. And I'm going to go ahead and log in under my username. So you'll have a client ID, you'll have a username, and you'll have your password. Let's go ahead and log in. When you log into TaxWise Online, you'll have the community income tax page, which we will start filling up, but we also have a link right now to our CIT support page. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that just so you can see it. This is, if those of you who have never seen it before, this is your one-stop shop for all your tools that you'll need with CIT. We try to put everything in here and constantly update it throughout tax season, so it's easily accessible, from last year's software downloads to desktop downloads to receiving text notifications. The whole user guides, trading materials, the whole 9 yards will be found here. So what I'm going to show you here is where I would go to start with. There's the software section, bank and CIT support, and the phone numbers for whoever's going to support you. Now, I just want to bring it up. CIT is here to support you getting set up, getting onboarded, but after you start ready to file, then you will start calling TaxWise support line. They have a huge team of bilingual support reps that are seasoned and will be able to help you out with whatever question, like where do I find this in the software, or I can't log into this. That's where you would go. So please bookmark this support site. It's going to be really helpful for you throughout tax season. So if you look in here on the support site, there is a training video section that you can click on. And we also have YouTube training, and we record all our webinars as well. But what I want to point out is TaxWise has actually pretty good scenarios for practice returns. They have individual beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So if you go to this page and click on beginner, you'll see about 10 scenarios, and each one is a little bit different and they get progressively harder. So you want to make sure you start with scenario 1 and work your way to 10 and then go from beginner, intermediate to advanced. I don't know if you really need to go all the way to advanced, because by the time you get through intermediate, beginner, and maybe a little bit of intermediate, you're going to get pretty comfortable with how the software works, because I assume that most of us here are seasoned tax pros. We know the tax law. We just need to get familiar with this new calculator, TaxWise, that we're using to prepare returns. So I selected from these scenarios number 2 and 5, just because I think it has good information here, and they cover a lot of common tax returns that we do at our office. I'm going to start with here. So if you want to follow along and go to that page, you want to go to scenario 2. And with this scenario 2, we're going to do for what Mr. James Gant. He's not married with no dependents. He received health care through the marketplace, attended college, and wants to e-file his return. So we're going to practice picking a filing status, inputting W-2, interest, income, health coverage, enter education credit, and complete the e-file. So if you look in here, I have my scenario, I have my W-2, I have my interest statement, and my 1095-A, and also tuition statement. So let's get started. Go back into TaxWise Online. You can open and start a new return here, or you can go to tax returns and sort by the tax returns that you want. So I'm going to click on new return. And let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to put 1, 0. Oh, I can't do 106. I've done these scenarios so many times that I have to start my social a little bit different. It actually tells you that you can use a sample social of 102 and then use your company's EFIN in place of the rest of the numbers. But usually I just kind of just add an extra digit and just go. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to jump into tax. Oh, 122. Okay, 112222. Okay, so here I am in TaxWise Online Preparation section. So in this section, I have my refund monitor, I have my loaded forms, and I have my main info sheet. Main info sheet is where you're going to start every single return. It's whatever you input here is really going to carry forward into the return. I know some of us who came from Tax Act had to do a lot of that in the basic in the information through sometimes they do it through the interview, but really you want to do it through here. It makes it so much faster just typing in the information. So let me go ahead and type in. If I hit Control E, it will take me to the next required field. And every time that I type something, the software is smart enough to know what's required next and also what forms are required to add to the form tree. So as you can see, I'm tabbing. This one is in red. I tend to use a combination of tab and mouse scrolls, but you can use Control E or tab, whatever you feel comfortable with. So James is probably single here. He doesn't have any dependents, or so not going to qualify for head of household. I'm going to select e-file only, and that's what they required. Let's go ahead and input his PIN. And So my main info page is all green. So essentially, what did I do here? I went ahead and keyed in uh, his location, address, phone numbers, filing status. I would have no dependents here. Selected how I want to file the return, and also filled out the e-file information. Next thing we're going to do is start inputting some of his information. So the first thing I have here is a W-2. So I'm going to open up the W-2. A few different ways you can add a W-2 in the software. You can go directly to your 1040 page 1 and go to your wages, click the triangle here, and then click on new W-2. I find it easier just to click the plus button, type in a W-2 in here, and just add it from here, from your search. It's just really fast. And then just go in there and start typing information, getting rid of the red. So now I'm putting the employee ID. The software will keep track of all your employers' names and addresses, so you never have to rekey in a lot of the redundant information. Let me go ahead and type in his income, tax withheld, and same thing for the calculations. You can turn those off if you want to by checking this box if there's something that doesn't match up. But they should all just automatically calculate. Now I'm done with this W-2. I'm skipping the state part because it's just way too early to start doing states. But you know, when you do a state return, it just carries everything over to the state, and you just get rid of the red as well. But for a federal part, you know, they either way, they all work the same way. So next form I have here is a 1099 INT. So I need to enter the interest income. Now, what I'm going to do, you can do it in two different ways. You can go directly to the 1040 and go to taxable interest and type it in right here. If you feel more comfortable or have more information to report, you can go to Schedule B. Just like that, I've added it in here. You go to Other Interest, click the plus, go here, and go to Interest Statement. In here, you can report multiple interest statement forms with more information, not just a total interest received. I'm out in box 1 or 3. If it belongs to the taxpayer, if there's anything else, I think that will be it. That filled out my interest requirement, and now I'm done with my 1099 INT. Last form I have here is a 1095A. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that. As you can see in red is my ACA. So they did purchase through the marketplace and they didn't apply for exemption, and they had minimum essential coverage. Now, when I filled this out, it did bring up the form 8962, and that is for premium tax credit for healthcare. And again, this form wouldn't have popped up if I didn't answer the ACA. So that's how TaxWise works. Whenever you do something, it connects to something else, and you have to get rid of the red. And I'm going to say it's the same for every month. Go directly here on the 1095. It tells you it's on line 33A. Type in a 5160, type in a 4780, and that's it. And then we are other 48 states. Yeah, I forgot to answer that one last one. Now it's green. He is not, he's in Georgia, so he's not in Alaska or Hawaii. Next part here is going to be an education credit for Mr. James. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the plus again. Let's just say, you know it's an education. So if I just search by education, there should be education credit 8863. And I'll just go ahead, and it's usually on page 2, and then you just type in the student information. my zip code. Did we receive a 1098T? Yes. Now let's look at the 1098T. It doesn't have those boxes checked, so I'm going to click no. And then it just wants the EIN number for the university, 561. And now we just enter the qualified, and he's going to get maximum credit because it caps off at 4,000, and he'll get $2,500 credit. So this one was complete. Now let's see what else is in red. We got the 8633 in red, page 1, and it tells you exactly what line it is. If you claim American Opportunity Credit and reduce or disallowed, we're going to say no. And then the final parts will be the due diligence. Now that we've keyed in everything, this return is almost complete. All we have to do is just finish the American Opportunity Credit information, and it will show you exactly where you need to go, so you don't have to read all the form. You just need to answer the questions in red. And now it's all in green. Now we got more red. They provided 1098T, and yes. So now here's all my forms. The ones in greens are the ones that are used on this return. The ones in black were not really used as a calculation tool. And then the only thing here that we have is in red is the price sheet, and that's only because I did not fill out my entire price sheet, and that's one thing we will discuss later on in this training. It's to show you how to set up your pricing and make sure you set up your return templates. Whenever the software adds a W-2, I don't charge by extra W-2s, so it's showing that it's required. So it just brings it to your attention just in case you missed it, but it doesn't prevent you from doing anything else in the software. All right, so this return, we have if we also want to review the summary, we can review it. And the neat thing is, once you start building up some years with TaxWise, you'll be able to compare it with 2015 and 16 and show them the comparison. So another useful tool is adding client notes. You can always add client notes for this client for you to save for yourself. And that's pretty much it for scenario 2. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the next scenario, but I'm going to pause for a minute. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in right now. And otherwise, I can get started on the next scenario. I think Ron has a question on how fast is save following your entries. I'm almost certain it's instant. I mean, I type something and it's instant. Although you do have a save and close here, but I think every time you type anything in the software, it automatically saves it. It also probably dependent upon your internet speed. I think that's another thing that a lot of us need to be careful about is you don't really need like lightning fast internet, but you want to have stable, strong internet signal, and you can do a speed test with TaxWise or I think it's anything over like 4 or 5 megs should be more than efficient. Okay, looks like we don't have any questions right now, so I'm going to go ahead and save that return and start a new one. So there's the return. Let's go ahead and create a new one for scenario number 5. So first, let's take a peek at scenario 5 so we can all take a look at it. Okay, this is a fun return. It's got a lot of information in it. All right, this is for Sandra and George Langston. Okay, there we're gonna learn how to do a W-2, enter W-2 data. So I guess we have income data, income interest, health coverage, claim EIC, report dependent care expenses, and complete e-file. I'm sure that's a very, very common return here that a lot of us have in our offices. So I'm going to show you how to do that quickly and easily with TaxWise Online. Let's look at the notes here. In addition to their wages, taxpayer receive interest income from savings account. Okay. Sandra covers the whole family and her insurance from work, so we know how to answer the ACA part. That should be pretty quick. No one else could claim the twins for EIC, and it's never been disallowed. While the couple worked, the girls attended the Sunshine School, address 21 Montessori Circle. Hopefully I said that right. In Cave Spring, Georgia, and there's their EIN and the amount they paid per child. And this is their PIN numbers that they want to provide us. So let us go ahead and start the return process. So with this one, we're gonna do I'm running out of socials to use as examples. All right, so now we're presented again with our everything's in red. We got to start keying the data in. All right, let's go here to married filing joint. Now we do have a dependent to input. We have multiple dependents. Let's go ahead. Daughter, 12 months. We're gonna apply for dependent care, and we're gonna require EIC. They're twins, so they're gonna be born the same day. Keep scrolling. I'm gonna select e-file only. And let's go ahead and key in the requested pins. Put today's date. All right, main info is nice and clean. It's in green. If it's not, we would have to go back and get rid of that. So let's start adding up forms that we need. First one here belongs to Sandra, and it's a W-2. So I'm gonna click plus, W-2. We're gonna say it's for Sandra. They have the right address, and keyed in identically to the W2. Now we'll keep moving. Let's go to, this one is for George, and it's 1099 miscellaneous. So let's go ahead and add a 1099 miscellaneous. Oh, it doesn't let me, I have to add a Schedule C. This is construction. We'll figure out a code later. No. And then gross receipts. So the software actually wants you to add the Schedule C first and then add the 1099 miscellaneous by linking it through the Schedule C. So let's put that in. EIN 21555555. So as you can see, remember that. And then we just have a line 7 here, 1723.41. Now let's go back to the Schedule C and see what we're missing. We just have to specify for George. Now we're done with this one. Now we have the interest income. Again, you can go directly to the tax return and type it in. For this example, since it's just one, I'm just going to show you the easy way to do it. And that's it. We're done. So, I guess we have just a few more things left here. Let's take care of the healthcare part. They did not purchase from the marketplace, and it wasn't disallowed. Had minimum coverage, had minimum coverage, had minimum coverage, and we're all done with here. This is regarding the child tax credit. We're going to say no, that's what they claimed. Now we see some more red here. We asked for dependent care, and that's 2441. So let's go ahead and key that information for the Sunshine School. They have an EIN, and we just type in the EIN. In here, amount paid is going to be 2,400 to the school altogether, and now we scroll down to each individual, and we put in the 1,200. All done. Everything is nice and in green. Now let's see what we need to get rid of. We have an earned income credit worksheet. We have to answer. Again, with TaxWise, you just get rid of the red. Oh. And it makes you answer for both the children. And now we're good and green on the EIC. Finally, 8867, our favorite form, the due diligence. So, and it tells you what it's for. It's going to be for child tax credit and EIC. So we say yes. Okay, now everything is nice and clear. Um, they get a really nice refund in here. I think I keyed everything here. Now we got rid of all the red. And that would be scenario 5. Um, oh, there's a little tiny typo that I did. That refund looked a little too high. So it was 17,000, not 1,700. I was like, wow, that's a nice refund. So that was nice. I actually made a mistake and I caught it. So this is actually the correct answer here for this return. And that's how you would key everything in. That didn't change other than I was missing a digit here, but everything turned green, and I'm done with this tax return. Also, my price sheet is in red. So if anyone has any questions, please ask them before I move forward with the next section, which we're going to discuss on return stages and setting up templates and you know, things to make your life easier throughout the software while preparing taxes. Okay, we have no additional questions. Let's go ahead and move. All right, so in TaxWise Online, you can sort by all returns, accepted returns, active returns, paper return, rejected returns. You can also have what's called, you can customize the columns. It's actually better if I show you under all returns. You can customize the columns to show whatever you want. Like if you want to know if the state has accepted your returns, if the federal has accepted your return, if and when it was accepted, click more details, get bank statuses, things like that. You can always check them. There's also stages in here, return stages that you can set your return in. So for instance, for this return, let's say I need additional info needed, not it's ready for sent to CIT and not signed by customers. You can create all these different stages for yourself, and however you want to manage your office, you can manage it that way. And all this can be found. You can customize the columns using this option and click customize columns. You can also reset them. And then what you can do is go to settings, click on your name, go to settings. And if you're not an admin, you're only going to have the general settings. But for everyone else, they're going to have manage user security, send settings, client return templates, client letter templates, and return templates. And the most common one that you're going to use, other than inputting all the users and employees that you have in your office, is creating a return template. What a return template does is it allows you to pre-fill a lot of the fields that you're going to use every day, like your price sheet has to be part of this. Your office information, your EFIN, your PEAT, if you have a RBIN number for Republic, all this stuff that if you do a lot of state returns, you can pre-fill some of the states in. If you don't do any states, make sure you mark that you don't do a lot of states. So whatever the majority of your clients are going to have to make the process quicker for you. I don't know if you noticed when I was doing the return, there was not a lot of red on my main info screen because I already pre-filled everything. I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I edit this template, this looks exactly like every time I start a new return, it's going to look exactly like this. So let's take a look in here and look at this template. I have selected that I'm excluding Puerto Rico from this tax return, so I don't have to answer this every time. I've also marked that I don't want it. I'm in Florida. I don't do states. I have selected bank, but I'm going to select e-file only just so I don't have the banks available yet. It should be any day now that should come out, and we'll show you a video on how to do that. I pre-filled my PIN. I selected that I want to do practitioner PIN, and I selected this income tax return. If you don't select these, they're always going to be in red. So you want to make sure those are filled out. This can't be changed. I mean, I don't know if you can really do it for every client. Usually you want to make sure that you provide the PIN to the client. So you can type it in here, authorize, and put today's date, and the ID verifications part, that's up to you. Now the prepare, this is the part where some people get confused on, the prepare information part. You can have multiple templates for multiple preparers, and if you do that, then you can type in the prepare information in here and just assign that template to that specific preparer. But it's easier if you have it universal. I just think that it's easier that way. That way everything stays consistent, and then the only thing that would change on the template itself is the prepare information. Everything else stays the same, like the pricing and everything else that I showed you. So the price sheet right here is where you would go. If it's not part of your existing form tree, you can also add it by typing price. And you can also, like, for example, I don't have a W-2. If most of my customers are going to have W-2s, I'm going to add a W-2 to this template, so it's in there as well. So you can just pick whatever you want to add, so you start off without having to add it. On the price sheet, you can go in here and list all your prices and fill them out the way that you want, and the software automatically knows and it pre-fills the one for you, or if you have multiple W-2s, and charges accordingly, and at the bottom it will give you the total. You don't have to fill all these out, but sometimes you'll get it in red telling you that this form is missing when you do a return, but it doesn't affect anything. You can pre-fill a lot of this information out. And so once you're done with a template, you got to remember there's 3 steps to it. You want to save the changes, you want to publish it, which makes it go live, because if you just save it and not publish it, it's not going to start taking effect on the next returns. Then you want to assign it to the preparer. Now, since I'm using a main office template, I can select all my users and assign it to them, which is what I'm doing right here. Okay, so now it's assigned to all the users. Now I can save and close. Now, since I have a main office template as my default template and it's assigned to all my users, now if I want to add a new template, I can create a new one and name it whatever I want. And let's just say I have a special employee that wants their own specific template, they can do that. But what the part that gets a little bit confusing is, like, if you have a main office template and you published it for everybody, what you do is go to settings, and every user who logs into TaxWise can go in there, and there's under general settings, under user settings, tax preparer, you can override the template to do with these values. So whoever's logged in can override it, and it will pre-fill their PTIN, EIN, and all that information into the template. So that way everything stays uniform, but the logged in users preparer information will just be inside that template. So I think that's the easiest way to do it. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You can assign every user a template. It's up to you on how you want to do it. And if you have questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. I know it gets sometimes a little confusing, but it really, once you start using it, it makes it so much easier. And it could evolve throughout tax season. You might find yourself, oh yeah, let me add this to my template so I don't have to key it. You start seeing patterns with customers. General letter template is also another nice one. You can create new templates. Now, this is our predefined templates that you have within the software that you can print out to your clients, like balance due, refund letter, privacy policy. And you can also make maybe like an engagement letter, things like that. And you can customize them for your own practice. And it will use merge fields like information from the return, such as their name, birth date, whatever you want to add to those templates. Even create maybe like a referral templates. There's a lot you can do with this and customize it, put your logo, just makes it more personable, and builds your brand with the customers, with your clients that you have. Manage users is going to be only for the admins. And it's really easy to add a user. All you have to do is click create a new user, put their username, real names, emails, and what their roles are. Everybody has to be a licensed user though. If they're not a licensed user, they're not going to be able to do anything in the software. So make sure that they are a licensed user, otherwise they cannot. See, I have licensed users. You have to make sure that they're a licensed user. But whatever you select here will go here as a role, and then you make them active. The first time they log into the TaxWise online, they're going to use the same client ID. Your entire office uses the same client ID. Then their username and password will be their username the first time, and they'll prompt them to change it. And we do have videos on showing you how to get started. Now there's a disable restrict IP addresses. You can restrict your employees from since it is web-based, you can go anywhere and do tax returns. If you don't want them to be mobile and only work out of your office, you can select restrict IP, and that will restrict them to only work from within your office. So that's the manage users settings. General settings, and that's gonna be the part you see. And now there's administrator general settings. There's custom fields that you can add. I saw some of you here and there while helping set up that use this, and I do suggest using it. Like you can put a field here, add a custom field like how did you hear about us. Make it required that every tax pro in your office asks it. You can do a list of like, newspaper, there's the value, there's that. Let me see if I can add another value. So you can select the values. You can also ask for, did someone refer you over? There's a lot of different things that you can make as a required field. You can make emails definitely a required field, Ron. That was a good question. I'm reading as I'm going through this. You can modify your return stages that I showed you. Like if you have someone in your office that inputs data and you don't want, and then when they're done, they can just say data inputted, ready for processing, or interview and process, or just so you can glance over if a customer asks you what's going on, or if you're managing the end of the day, see where everyone's at. You can control your print sets. Those are self-explanatory and really easy to use. And this I wouldn't mess with. You really don't want your preparers overriding anything. Salutations, I guess, if you want to add more salutations. So fully customizable information. I'm not going to save this one. And that should be it for here for now. The nice thing again about this TaxWise online, I mean, the online and the desktop preparation part is almost 99% the same. I mean, TaxWise always worked the same way. However, with the online, it's really nice and easy to use. You don't have to work, it's more secure. You don't have to worry about updating. You don't have to worry about installing. Everything's already preloaded, all the states, everything is constantly updated, and it's easy, just real easy to use. As you can see, I just went in here and did 2 returns quite easily without, and I know it takes time to get used to that, but we're here to help, and really excited about this upcoming tax season. If you have any questions, please type them in. I don't know, Joy, was there any questions that I missed while I'm doing this?
I only see one you missed, Omar, and that was, I noticed that the dependents didn't carry over a child care credit from the information sheet. Do you have to enter every time the Social Security number? So I think we might need to go back and look at a return.
No, I did carry the dependent to the dependent from the main info sheet to the 2441. Is that the question?
Yes, I believe that's the question.
Yeah, they did carry over. I'll show you right here. The only thing I had to really key in is the care provider's name on a 2241 with their EIN number. And then if you see that this is in green, I didn't type any. If it's in green, it's a calculated field. So it carried over their socials and names. The only part I had to key in was each dependent's cost, I guess, expenses paid. So it does carry them over. If I click the arrow, see where it came from the main info sheet.
And someone would like to see how to print a return, Omar.
Can't print anything yet, unfortunately, until the next release comes out, but I will, as soon as that comes out, I will, we're still doing webinars. Hopefully we'll be able to cover that in another webinar. Also, I'm going to make videos to show you on-demand videos, so you don't have to sit through an entire training. We're going to do one on printing returns. We're going to do one on bank products, selecting the how to do a pre-act, how to do an act, how to print a return, how to print a check, how to do all that, how to e-file. We'll get those as soon as those modules are available. It should be within the next few days, hopefully, unless something slows it down. I don't want to promise anything, but it should be very soon. We're expecting it. I just want to click here and just show you the client letters. Here's what this refund letter looks like, and you can modify this the way you want it. It shows the refund amount, it shows their name, your company name, and you can do a privacy policy, things like that. I think are pretty nice to have that you can modify in the letters. I think that's the only thing it's going to let me print. All right, well, while everyone's thinking about a question, I just want to demonstrate one last thing I overlooked, and it is called the Vault feature. That's available to all CIT members, and with the Vault, you're able to snap a photo or scan any documents into the return. Those of you who came from TaxAct know this as a document manager. I don't know how many actually used it, but it's nice that you can go paperless and add a copy of the return to here. You can add a copy of W2. You can snap photos. Like, for example, some people want to use a tablet to do returns. They can use the camera inside a tablet to snap pictures as a scanner of all the documents. So it's pretty nice to have, and it's available for you, and it's all saved to the cloud. Now, I did those very specific 2 returns last training. I think it was last week, and I did them both in interview mode. So if those of you who want to use interview mode, it's also available. But I recommend getting accustomed to just using the regular TaxWise with the forms mode, because it's so much easier to do a return, so much quicker. I wouldn't say easier, but it's quicker to do a tax return. Anything else? Any other question? Joy, did you notice something that I need to cover that you want to talk about?
No, I think Vault was important that we talked about Vault, but we're continuing to get a lot of questions on when are we starting, when can we start filing, when can we start processing pre-acknowledgement loans for those of you who choose to offer those, and we are all waiting to see what happens in DC. As soon as the tax bill passes or doesn't pass, and we see how that's going to impact filing for this year, then IRS will very quickly give us all dates so that we will all know when, and we will definitely announce it and let you guys know as soon as we know.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. Well, I appreciate everyone for joining us. If other questions pop in your mind, please let us know either on Facebook or send us an email or chat with us on the support site. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.